Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. Today is Monday, Fun Day, Gun Day. Fortunately, Mike once again will not be able to be here with us today, but he is working on getting back to location Bravo, and as soon as he is, he'll be joining us on the program. But for now, it's just going to be us. It's going to be me. It's going to be you. So do me a favor. Go ahead and check in with us. If you're watching us live on Facebook, on YouTube, if you're watching us on Rumble, or you're watching us on OpsLens, please go ahead and comment. I will be following your comments, and if it's something worth sharing, I'll share it with the audience. So go ahead and let us know what you think or what you're thinking, because trust me, I'm sure you are thinking something with everything that's been going on in the news cycle. And well, saying that, let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, you know what we got to do, and that is first and foremost, we got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. If you are looking for if you're looking for a barrel, right? You want to do either a brand new build, a home build, or maybe you just want to rebarrel your current rifle. The place to go is Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol length barrels available for you today, including, by the way, Glock barrels. All you got to do is go there, check them out. And by the way, if you are a first responder and you've never bought from them before, you're going to get a discount. So check them out today at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly, working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you like what you see, become a member today. Once again, that's the California Republican Assembly. And then we've got Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. The best in concealed carry and tactical holsters, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, whatever firearm, whatever setup. Trust me, they have what you need. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, just like it is right there. And you're going to get a discount on us. So check them out today. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, if you're looking for warm weather gear, hot weather gear, wet weather gear, cold weather gear, you name it, they've got all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. They've got a great selection. They've got phenomenal pricing and fast shipping. Veteran owned and operated. Check them out today, uscombatgear.com. All right, we're going to get into today's news stories, and we're going to start with, well, what everyone is talking about, and that is the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump, or President-elect Donald Trump, however you wish to refer to him. That would make him 45 and 47. But, I got to tell you, it was the weirdest thing, because I rarely, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of Trump rallies. I just don't. I figure everything that I hear is that he talks the way he talks. I've never been a big fan of his kind of rambling style of speaking. I figure if he says something worth watching, I'll tune in later. But I'm a big fan of his policies, and a big fan of what he does while he's in office. Anyway, all that having been said, for some reason I decided to tune in this time. I don't know why, probably because it was leading into the Republican convention. But in any case, watching it happen, watching it live, we're talking happen live on national TV. When I say on national TV, on Fox News, or because it wasn't happening, they weren't airing it on CNN. They weren't airing it on MSNBC or ABC or CBS. It was on Fox News, and I gotta tell you, it was surreal. And as soon as you saw it, you knew what was going on, and it was scary. It was scary because you didn't know what really had happened. You saw he turned, you saw he was already turned. You could see that he reached up and he grabbed his ear, and then down he went. I didn't know if it was because he got shot or because he was ducking down. You couldn't tell. And in any case, now we all now know the president was injured slightly. The president he got shot in the ear. All I can say is, but for the grace of God, we would be talking about the late, great Donald Trump. And I got to tell you, it was a miracle. It's a miracle that Donald Trump is still alive today, which tells you there's something going on there. Look, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, the shooter has been identified. Let me see. I've got the story here. Let's go back to that real quick. Over here, Trump rally shooter has been identified, and they're telling us a little bit about him here in this story. It says here his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's 20 years old. He's from Pennsylvania. He's a Pennsylvania man, and this is what they know so far. It says here the gunman who fired shots at former President Donald Trump in an assassination attempt at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, Saturday night, has been identified by the FBI as 20-year-old Thomas Crooks. He was killed by Secret Service sniper, officials say. The one audience member at the rally, Pennsylvania firefighter Corey Comparatore. Corey Comparatore. There we go. I'm going to get it right. Was killed in the shooting, and two other men are in critical condition, officials said. Spokesman, let's move a little forward here. It says, now, who is the shooter? It says the FBI identified Michael Crooks, 20, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. The subject was involved in an assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. This remains an active, ongoing investigation, so yada, yada, yada. So anyway, so they're still investigating exactly who he is. Now, mind you, when they shot him, they shot his face off. So they had to actually go and do some... They had to actually figure it out, utilizing DNA in order to figure out exactly who this was. Now, the thing that's amazing about, the thing that gets me about this is there were people, first of all, he was within 150 meters of, or 130 or 150 meters, one of those two, but of President Trump, of the stage. And one has to wonder, how did he get that close? On top of a roof, right? On top of the roof of a building. Now, the interesting thing was people saw him there. In fact, it was about 2 minutes from the time people that we know people saw him. About 2 minutes between then and when they actually fired the shots. And matter of fact, here's a video that kind of shows you the timeline of how it works. It kind of lets you see how much time they actually had from the time someone first saw the shooter until he actually shot. And then one has to wonder how this guy did not get taken out any faster. But check it out.
He was doing his job. I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful place with a gorgeous ocean. The Mediterranean,
look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, you see him? He's laying down. You see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And still I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator
What's happening?
and to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We have the strongest border ever. In recorded
See, now at
history,
that
the
point
best
right
border.
there, why is
In fact,
someone
if they
not
could ever
on
put
their
up a chart, I
not on
don't
their
know if they can do it.
microphone,
Do you
right?
guys have access
Talking
to
to
that
the
chart that I love so much?
snipers right now.
You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring. I try and explain that. Oh, there's a wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest
Here we are, minute 30
amount
seconds,
of
still
illegal
nothing.
immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people.
People are still calling it out, trying to see what the heck is going on.
That chart's a couple of months old, and
Why did someone get the president down? So now you see, that was a full 2 minutes, 4 seconds. From the time the people in the audience saw the guy to the time that he finally shot. Now, somewhere in there, evidently, a local law enforcement officer climbed up a ladder and peeked his head up there and was confronted by the guy who swung the gun around. He went back down so he wouldn't get shot. Then the guy had time to turn back around, take aim, and fire at Trump. Now, my question once again, from the first moment you have somebody yelling at you, there's someone up on the roof over there, why isn't law enforcement on the you got a walkie-talkie right there. Why are you not on the walkie-talkie? There's someone on the roof of building, boom. And immediately people should have been trained on that. You don't go up there. You have people already up there who are supposed to be eyeing that. And I'm not saying you can't go up there, but the first thing you need to do is let everybody else know what's going on. So my first question is, did they do that? Did they let them know? Now, what I've heard, and this is once again, through the Twitter sphere, was that the one of the snipers actually had him in his sights for a while, for at least a minute or two, but couldn't get the okay to shoot. If that's the case, well, then that's who's to blame. I mean, obviously, then we're looking at Secret Service. But the other thing is, how did he get up there? First of all, let's take a step back. Number one, in all of this, the number one responsibility comes down to Secret Service. And I know, and I get it. He's a former president, so he doesn't get the full detail. He doesn't get the full detail until he officially becomes the nominee, which happens on Friday. That's the way it normally goes. But all that having been said, when you have him going, and so I realize that the area in which Secret Service is responsible for shrinks, and then you work with and partner with local law enforcement to work on the areas outside of that. But in the end, they're responsible for it all, right? They are responsible in the end for it all. And my question is, why was someone allowed to even be able to get up on the roof of a building that is within shooting distance of the former president? How? How does that happen? Anyway, I can tell you this, some heads should roll. When I say some heads should roll, I'm specifically speaking about there within the Secret Service. But it was interesting because, not long after this happened, then you had Joe Biden come out, and he did a White House address, and he decided to come out and talk about how important it was that we calm our nerves and cool political rhetoric. Okay, I know that was kind of hard. I know that was kind of hard to hear. But basically, that's the president of the United States saying, there's no way we can have this kind of political violence. He's saying, he's trying to say that we need to cool the political rhetoric. But the one thing I didn't hear in that address, was him calling out his own folks. He's saying we all need to, well, wait a minute. All I know is that I've seen for years, Democrats making some of the most violent, vitriolic statements. And here I'll play a sample of them. And it only took a quick Google search or a Twitter search for me to find this compilation video. And by the way, this is by no means exhaustive of the sorts of things that Democrats have said about President Trump and about Republicans. Just so you know.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
Biggest terror threat in this country is
white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So, and you know, it's funny because I sent out a tweet the evening that this happened, and I said, you know, if you're gonna consistently compare the man to Hitler and say he is literally Hitler, or he's Hitler-esque, if you say that he is going to end democracy and he is going to install himself as a dictator, if you go and you say that this is going to be the end of our democratic form of government if he gets elected, and then because you have put up a walking corpse as your nominee on the side of the Democratic Party, and it's almost guaranteed that Donald Trump is going to win, you cannot tell me that there are not crazies on the left who are going to take you up on that. Or just not just on the left, people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, because we got some of those on the right too. In fact, this guy supposedly was a registered Republican. I'm guessing he was a registered Republican because he also gave money to Act Blue, which is a left-wing Democrat, anti-Republican or anti-conservative campaign organization. I'm guessing he registered so that he could vote against Donald Trump. I don't know. All I know is that when people who are as high as the president and the vice president of the United States, people in academia, people in media, people in the news, reporting the news, supposedly mainstream news journalists, and people in Hollywood like Robert De Niro and Whoopi Goldberg are out there saying things like, well, you know, he's going to round up, all of a sudden he's going to start disappearing gay people and journalists. When they are saying that, now, most reasonable, rational people realize and recognize hyperbole when they hear it. But honestly, some of these people believe it. They honestly believe it when all of these quote-unquote credible people are saying it. So, and I get it. You know, my brother responded. You know, y'all know my brother. He's the liberal Democrat. Responded, well, you know, Donald Trump is so disrespectful and demeaning. And I'm like, I get it. I don't condone it, but I understand what you're talking about. But there is a difference between being demeaning and belittling, which, quite frankly, Donald Trump is. Just ask Marco Rubio. Just ask Ted Cruz. Just ask Chris Christie. I mean, he's mean and belittling to Republicans on top of Democrats. So you can't say that he's not. I mean, you just can't deny that he does that. All that having been said, there's a far cry from that, from saying that, you know, President Joe Biden has dementia, to saying that President Joe Biden is Hitler, to saying that he will be the end of democracy, that his goal is to destroy. I mean, come on now. That's what you're saying. And when, once again, and we got crazies on the right too, if you are to go out and you are to say the sorts of that he is the existential threat that, and then everybody's saying, if you have people in media, people in business, people in academia, people in politics and leaders, the president of the United States saying it, well, guess what? There are people who, by the way, just so you know, this guy who acted, he's the one responsible. He's the one who did it. He's the one who paid the ultimate price. My only regret is that he's not going to live long enough to be in court and to have to, I would love for us to be able to actually just put him to death. I would love for him to suffer through the consequences of it. I would love for it to, but all that having been said, he's been put down. And put down is probably a gentle way of saying it. He had his face shot off. Anyway, he is the one responsible. But as we go forward, we really need to check. I mean, we need to check our, not just, here's the thing. Ultimately, the left, they're going to do their thing. And it's up to people on the left to check the left. We have our responsibility on our side to make sure we're not promoting or propagating violence. Because, and I'll just be real with you, some of y'all are going to disagree with me, but January 6th was not all FBI plants. January 6th was not all people just walking through the Capitol building. There were people who were engaged in violence who claimed to be on our side. They were a small percentage of the people who were there in town that day and a small percentage of the people who made their way over to the Capitol. A small percentage, but they were there and they need to be held accountable. And we all need to be willing to say that is not okay. That is not acceptable. They need to be held accountable. We all need to be willing to do that. Now, where are the folks on the left? Are you going to do that? Are you going to talk to the Nancy Pelosi's and the Kamala Harris's and the Maxine Waters and the Whoopi Goldbergs and the Robert De Niro's and the Joe Bidens and tell them, hey, you need to chill it? And by the way, in case you think that a lot of that rhetoric has not led to violence, keep in mind, someone showed up out in front. Someone showed up to kill Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Someone attempted to shoot and kill the president or the former president of the United States. Right? The summer of love, 2020, the George Floyd riots, in which 25 people died, thousands of police officers were injured. Billions of dollars of property damage was done, both public and private, federal, state, and local property. There are some businesses that were shut down by the riots that have never reopened. Now, when are they going to call them out? I want to hear the people on the left. If you're watching this and you're on the left, let me see you in the comments. Call them out. Point out what they did. You heard me point out my concerns and my issues over what Republicans have said. I'll tell you right now, I do believe that the media and the Democratic elected officials who had control over elections in certain areas put their thumb on the scales. They changed the rules. They changed the rules in order to benefit Joe Biden and Democrats. I definitely believe that the media, which we all know was slanted. We know that tech companies tilted the election that way. We know that they were suppressing conservative websites. All of this stuff is all now knowledge. It's out there. It is not deniable. It happened. We know. So when I say the election was stolen, that's what I mean. But the whole voting machine thing, no. To try no, it was. And by the way, I don't know that any of those things that I just said were actually illegal. I don't know that they were or they weren't. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know enough about the law. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Anyway, all that having been said, folks, this is what we know right now. So there's obviously going to be more stuff. There's going to be more stuff to talk about as we go forward. There's a couple of things surrounding this that I wanted to talk about, and we're going to try. We're at 20. Well, no, we're doing okay. We're only 25 minutes. We got a little bit of time. We'll be all right. All right, so the next story that we got here in line has to do with MSNBC. Now, this was interesting. So MSNBC has a morning show called Morning Joe. Monday morning, they pulled Morning Joe. And they did so because they were concerned that you might have some folks on Morning Joe that, well, let's just say they might say some things that might get the network in trouble. Here's a news report from Fox News on it.
Sometimes, Kaylee, the best thing to do is to say nothing at all. And apparently this is happening over at MSNBC. This is a headline here. Morning Joe pulled from air Monday because of Trump's shooting. And a person familiar with the matter told CNN that the decision was made to avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment on live television that could be used to assail the program and network as a whole.
I think they should worry about the host of that program, too. I will never forget watching in real time a few months ago, Joe Scarborough come out and say that Donald Trump would execute people. Like, this was said, and it was so stunning. I wrote down the time. I put it in my notes. I sent it to our team. He's never said that. He's never done that. I don't blame Joe Scarborough, any host, any president, any political figure for what happened. I solely blame the shooter. But the rhetoric on both sides should come down. And I think what you are seeing from Team Trump is a hard pivot from fighter to healer. Politico Playbook said today there was this call that took place after the shooting with Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles, and they were very strategic, and they've called...
Anyway, I don't want to play the whole interview, but the thing that I was trying to show you here is that clearly they recognize that there are people on the left who, quite frankly, are happy that he got shot. They are. And they're actually, and some of them are actually angry that he actually survived. There are people out there who literally are saying that, well, you know, he got what he deserved. You know, he preaches hate. He doesn't preach hate. I've never heard him preach it. I've heard him preach about the fact that I've heard him talk about things that are happening in America that we need to come against because they're harming this country that we love. But I've never heard him just flat out like talk about hating anybody. Well, hating those who illegally enter our country. Let me clarify. Hating those who allow people, there you go. Hating those who allow people to illegally enter our country. Yes, he has talked about that. But I'm like, anyway, it's, the thing is that they're like, once again, there are people on the left for whom political violence is okay. And that's the reason why you never see them condemn. I mean, if you ever bring up on any of these left-wing folks, you bring up the George Floyd riots, they will attempt to shut you down. I know because they've done it. They've done it when I've been on shows with them. They'll try to shut you down and say, that was not, and that was not, no, it was very political. Black Lives Matter is a political movement. Let's be clear and understand that. They are a political movement with political goals and political policies for which they advocate. It is political, and that's what they were pushing. And it was anti-Republican, it was anti-cop, it was anti-white people, anti-establishment, and they trust me. It was and is still to this day a political movement. So don't give me none of that, right? And once again, they want to blame and that's what they really got into. They've gotten into victim blaming, much like some of the European folks on the left. Here, there's a story that we've got where folks on the left are actually referring to, where are we at here? Folks on the left, or some of these folks, are actually saying that. Oh, here we go. Now I found it. It's being reported at Breitbart. All right. It says here, Trump Republicans reap what they sow by defending gun rights. Europe, says the European left. It says here, in a reaction to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, leading left-wing political figures in Europe pointed the finger at gun rights in America, with the former head of the UK Labour Party in European Parliament saying that Republicans reap what they sow for defending the Second Amendment. The failed assassination attempt on the former president and current frontrunner in the 2024 election, Donald Trump, at a campaign rally which claimed the life of an audience member and left 2 others critically wounded is already being used for political point scoring to forward the anti-gun agenda of the left in Europe. While European leaders, many of whom have been deeply critical of Donald Trump, were quick to condemn the political violence against the presumptive Republican nominee, some leading political figures, such as Richard Corbett, used the opportunity to advance their agenda. Corbett, the former and final leader of the European Parliamentary Labour Party, which represented the governing UK Labour Party in the EU Parliament before Brexit, said on Sunday in response to the shooting of the former president, quote, "Will this make the Republicans want to change the U.S. gun laws that have led to widespread gun ownership, nearly 50,000 deaths a year from guns?" Now, mind you, he doesn't parse out exactly what that means. He doesn't parse out the fact that, basically 2/3 of those are suicides. Of the rest, about 80% of them are gangs and drugs. Doesn't talk about any of that. Doesn't talk. And by the way, all of which will still be going on, and the deaths will still be occurring, even if there were no firearms here in the United States. But I digress. But once again, they're going into sheer victim blaming. And anyway, I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that if the laws were how do I want to put this? If individuals who were there were able to carry, I'll bet you they'd have shot that dude up on the roof. I'm just going to say that. If they had their firearms with them, they could have probably shot that guy up on the roof. Problem solved. Not saying, just saying. Not clearly in this particular case, there were not enough good guys with guns, or at least they weren't in the right place. How about that one? Does that one sound appropriate? No, a little too much. Okay, well, anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it. All right, one final thing to note in the world of Donald Trump: classified documents case has been thrown out. Ouch. That's right. Being reported here by NBC News, Florida judge dismisses the Trump classified documents case. The Florida judge overseeing Trump's classified documents trial dismissed the case against the former president Monday on the grounds that the appointment of and funding for special counsel Jack Smith was illegal. U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump nominee. Notice how whenever it's something that is pro, that goes the way they want, that goes the way they hate, they point out that it was a Republican that appointed them. If it goes away, if it either goes the way they want, or the judge is someone that's appointed by a Democrat and it goes the way they don't want, they don't point out who appointed him. Anyway, going back, U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, said in her 93-page decision that Smith's appointment was unlawful and unconditional. The clerk is directed to close the case, the judge wrote. The decision came on the first day of the Republican National Convention and following an assassination attempt of the former president this weekend. So good news for Donald Trump. This was the case, folks, that, of any of the cases that existed, this was the one that probably had the most teeth to it. Clearly, he had documents he wasn't supposed to have. Clearly, he was caught on tape waving the documents around when he shouldn't have, and claiming that he could have declassified them, but he didn't. I don't know what to tell you, but I will say, and I'll tell you this. It wasn't just the fact that this was the case. They also pierced attorney-client privilege. They violated attorney-client privilege in order to get his attorney to release information or release. I think the tapes that they're talking about were actually, at the behest of his attorney. So I'm pretty sure that they violated attorney-client privilege with that. So there was that stuff that they were challenging. But In the end, it turned out that just his whole appointment and the way in which they handled it was unconstitutional. And once again, this was the case that had the most oomph to it. Their best argument on this one was, you didn't prosecute a vice president, current president Joe Biden, who did the same thing. You didn't prosecute a former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, who did almost the exact same thing. So why now are you prosecuting me? And you could have pointed to it being selective prosecution. Anyway, all that having been said, this is going to clear the way, because none of the other cases that are against the current president, some of them are for things that happened while he was president that, quite frankly, he's going to be, they're now put in question because of the immunity decision that was made by the Supreme Court. Others of which they're going to go forward, and they're just bad cases. Anyway, so it's going to be real interesting to see how all of this winds up working. In fact, they're actually also talking about throwing out let me clarify, the verdict. They may not even need to do a verdict in the case that he just got convicted, the 34 fake convictions that they just did. That case may wind up getting thrown out. So all that having been said, all of a sudden, all of these convictions and potential convictions are going to all go by the wayside, and it's just good news all around for the former president and president-elect. And by the way, one last little bit of news today: he has selected J.D. Vance to be his vice president. You might remember J.D. Vance. He's a senator. They're from Ohio. Oh, so I'm pretty sure it's Ohio. I could be wrong, because I literally just saw it come across as I was talking with y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here real quick. Yep, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Right here. Boom. Trump announces Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate. Let me read a little bit about him here. The former president who made it after lengthy deliberations. Vance appeared on the floor of the convention. Here we go. Vance, a former venture capitalist and author of best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy, before running for elective office, was one of a handful of Republicans considered the top running contenders. That group also included North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. Vance hails from Ohio, a one-time battleground state. The former president comfortably carried in 2016 and 2020 elections. The senator's selection is expected to boost Trump among working-class Democrats, especially across the Rust Belt, who otherwise might have been supporters of President Biden, according to multiple experts who spoke to Fox News Digital as Trump was weighing his options. Now, I got to tell you, that was something that I didn't think about. I'll be honest with you. J.D. Vance, for a while there, was really, really Trumpy. And I really thought, well, what does J.D. Vance really bring that the president doesn't already have? I thought maybe try and get somebody who's going to bring something that you don't already have. Well, turns out, according to some of the experts, that middle class, the middle class workers there in the Rust Belt, turns out he may bring over some Democrat supporters, and he's become a lot. When I say Trumpy, I mean Trump has a rhetoric that he uses that is not necessarily. It's kind of simplistic. And it's okay. I get it. People like it, but I want to hear some policy chop. That's just me, right? And then that's just me. Maybe that's just my egalitarianism. I don't know. But I just like to know that we have somebody who knows and understands and can discuss policy. And by the way, he has demonstrated that he is someone who can discuss policy. In particular, in the last year or so, he's really focused and honed in on some things. And I don't agree with him on everything, but I agree with him on a lot. I do believe that he will soundly trounce Kamala Harris in any debate that they take part in. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, all that having been said, I think it is a good selection. I don't know. And by the way, just so you know, whoever is vice president is no shoo-in to become president. In fact, the last vice president to become president happened, almost 30 years ago? That was, it was more than 30 years ago. A little more than 30 years ago. Anyway, it was Bush Sr., 1988. Bush Sr. was the last vice president to become president. So we're talking, 35 years ago, 36 years ago. I'm not really doing the math. I'm just kind of spitballing it. But it's not guaranteed that he's going to be president. But he is going to be an aggressive and intelligent defender of Trump's policies. And that's what I think you want. You want someone who can be out there, the vice president is really, his job is in part to be an attack dog. I know that is something that he can do. But he is also someone who, if he decided to run for president after 4 years, who could aggressively carry on and could continue on with the Make America Great Again policies the not just the policies, but the movement that I think is the important part here. And that is really making sure that we're engaging in the movement. Anyway, let's see, where does that bring us to? That brings us to, it brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. Not everybody, as I said, is happy about the fact that the president President Trump made it. I will tell you, and I've seen the tweets. I've seen some of the things on TikTok, and I got to tell you, it's disgusting. But some of the people are just not happy. In fact, according to the Babylon Bee, fake news you can trust, Democrats order flags to be flown at half staff as Trump still alive. Right, but also according to the Babylon Bee, they're not going to waste any time. Right, they're not going to waste any time turning this to their advantage. As the Biden administration, Biden administration is going to be indicting Trump. It says here, Trump indicted for inciting assassination attempt. And yeah, I could see them doing some stupid stuff like that. Not true, but I could see them doing stupid stuff like that. And then there's some of the crazy coverage of the some crazy coverage of the shooting. And this next one, if you're going to understand it, you need to see. So this right here, look at the very top. This is CNN's initial headline when it came to the assassination attempt. Trump injured in shooting at Pennsylvania rally. That was the headline that CNN used. Now, is that worse? Is that any worse or any better than this one by the Babylon Bee? CNN, clumsy Trump hits head on bullet. Not a whole lot worse. It's not a whole lot better, is it? Yeah, they hate Donald Trump. They do. And they're going to do anything possible to make it seem like, they're going to do anything they can possibly do to make him look bad. But anyway, I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, folks, that brings us to the end of the program, which means we give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you at hitmanindustries.net. You have the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA at cragop.org. And then you've got Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today on discount. And then finally, if you're looking for anything tactical, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. And that brings us to the end of our program once again. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing this program with your friends, and encouraging them to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Taco Tuesday. Hopefully Mike will be back with us. But if not, hey, you and I'll have a good time just like we did today. Y'all take care. Stay safe. If you get a chance, send a few downrange. I'll let you later.